There is a moment near the end of a hard season when nothing dramatic happens. No door slams. No answer arrives. You simply notice that the pain no longer has the same authority over you. Life around you may look almost unchanged. Same rooms, same responsibilities, the same unresolved questions. Yet something inside has stopped fighting to return to the person you were before everything became difficult. That is the moment many people misunderstand. They call it numbness. They call it being behind. They call it losing ambition. But it can be the first quiet sign that you are leaving the hardest season of your life. Not because the past did not hurt. Not because every problem is solved. You are leaving because the old way of carrying life is no longer possible, and a deeper part of you has finally stopped negotiating with what broke you. Carl Jung wrote about the lifelong movement toward wholeness. He called it individuation, becoming less divided between the role you learn to play and the person you actually are. A hard season often begins when that divide becomes impossible to ignore. You may have spent years being dependable, pleasant, productive, strong, or useful. But when they become the only allowed version of you, the psyche eventually asks for more truth. Listen carefully. The season that exhausted you may not have come to punish you. It may have come to end a bargain you could no longer afford, giving your energy away in exchange for approval, certainty, or the appearance that everything was fine. And the exit rarely looks like a grand victory. It looks like a quiet refusal, a message you no longer feel compelled to explain, a boundary you keep without a speech, an old goal that no longer makes your heart move. If this is where you are, stay with this video. There are several signs that the deepest part of the struggle may already be behind you. The last one is easy to miss, but it changes the question you ask about your future. The first sign is that you are tired of performing pain for people who only understand the surface of it. During a hard season, you often repeat the story in your mind. You try to make the loss sound reasonable. You search for the right explanation that will finally make somebody say, "Yes, that was too much. You had every reason to feel this way." Then, slowly, the need to be fully understood begins to loosen. You still value kind people. You still need real support. But you stop placing your healing in the hands of people who were never present for the deepest part of the journey. This is not bitterness. It is discernment. Think of someone who spent years in a role that earned praise but quietly emptied them. When they finally stepped away, relatives kept asking when they would get back to normal. Their question carried an assumption that normal was the destination. But normal had been the very life that made them disappear from themselves. At first, they argued. They listed every reason they had changed. Later, they stopped. Not because the relatives had won, but because an inner decision no longer needed a committee. Jung described the persona as the social face we build in order to function with others. It is useful, but it becomes painful when we mistake it for the entire self. A difficult season can crack that mask. The crack hurts, yet it lets air in. Here is the pattern interrupt. What if your growing silence is not a lack of confidence? What if it is confidence that no longer needs to announce itself? The second sign is that your old scorecard has started to feel irrelevant. You may still notice what other people are achieving. You may still feel a sharp moment when you see someone else moving forward with apparent ease. But the old measurements no longer settle the question of whether your life matters. Before the hard season, success may have meant being needed, busy, admired, financially secure, or visibly ahead. Now you are beginning to notice different evidence. You sleep without replaying every conversation. You can sit in a quiet room without escaping yourself. You say no and remain calm afterward. Those changes are not small. They are evidence that your center of gravity is moving inward. Imagine a woman named Miriam, a fictional composite. She had built her days around being indispensable. If someone needed help, she came. If a problem appeared, she solved it. Her calendar was full, but her inner life had become a locked room. When illness forced her to slow down, she felt useless. For months, she measured every day against the life she could no longer maintain. Then one morning, she sat by a window with tea and did nothing productive for 20 minutes. Instead of panic, she felt relief. That relief frightened her. It also told the truth. She was not becoming less valuable. She was discovering that value could not be reduced to how much of herself she could spend. The old scorecard counted output. The new one asks, am I becoming more honest, more present, and more at home in my own life? The third sign is that certain relationships feel different, even when nobody has done anything new. You may sit with familiar people and realize you can no longer return to an old dynamic. The jokes land differently. The pressure to be a certain version of yourself becomes visible. A conversation that once felt ordinary now leaves you strangely tired. This does not mean everyone must leave your life. It means you can feel the cost of shrinking. Jung's idea of projection can help here. We often place unclaimed parts of ourselves onto other people. We wait for them to give us permission, identity, excitement, or worth. When we start reclaiming those parts, some relationships naturally lose their old intensity. That can feel lonely, but loneliness is not always proof that you made the wrong choice. Sometimes it is the space between an old attachment and a more truthful way of belonging. Ask yourself one direct question. Which relationships allow me to be real without first becoming smaller? Your body often knows before your mind can explain it. The fourth sign is subtle. You are less interested in revenge, even if you still remember what happened. This does not mean excusing harm. It does not mean reopening a door that needs to remain closed. It means the person, place, or event that wounded you is no longer allowed to direct every decision that comes next. At the beginning of a wound, the mind returns to the scene again and again. It edits arguments. It imagines being recognized. It wants the past to give back what it took. Healing becomes visible when your energy begins to return from that impossible negotiation. You start caring more about what you will build than what someone else failed to understand. You begin choosing a peaceful afternoon over another private trial in your mind. You stop waiting for an apology before allowing yourself a future. This is one way the shadow becomes useful. In Jungian thought, the shadow is not only what we dislike about ourselves. It also holds abilities we pushed aside. Anger that can become a boundary, grief that can become compassion, and independence that can become direction. The pain did not make you wiser automatically. What matters is what you do with the energy that pain releases when it is no longer running your whole inner world. But there is another sign, and it is often mistaken for a problem. You may feel uncertain about what comes next. For a long time, you may have believed clarity would arrive as a complete plan. A new identity, perfect job, a relationship that makes everything coherent. Yet mature change often begins with a quieter kind of clarity. You know what you cannot keep doing, even before you know exactly what you will do instead. That is not failure. It is orientation. Picture a man named Daniel, another fictional composite. After a difficult divorce and a career setback, he wanted a 5-year plan immediately. Every plan felt borrowed from a life he no longer wanted. One evening, he noticed that the only part of his week that made him feel awake was helping at a neighborhood garden. It did not look impressive. Still, it was real. He began there. Months later, the garden had not magically solved his life, but it had returned him to rhythm, friendship, usefulness without self-erasure, and the feeling that tomorrow might contain something worth meeting. Your next chapter may also begin as a small living signal, not as a grand announcement. A subject you keep returning to, a place where time passes differently, A conversation after which you feel less divided. Notice those signals. They are not a guarantee. They are clues. The fifth sign is that you are becoming more protective of your attention. Hard seasons reveal how quickly attention can be consumed by emergencies, other people's expectations, old worries, and stories that never lead anywhere. Once you have felt that cost, you become more careful about what gets access to your mind. You may turn off noise that once filled every empty moment. You may prefer one honest conversation to a room full of shallow ones. You may stop reading things that make you anxious but do not make you wiser. This is not withdrawal from life. It is the beginning of a life you can actually inhabit. Jung saw the psyche as more than a machine for achievement. Contains a drive toward integration. Sometimes that drive asks for less stimulation, not more. Less performance. Less comparison. More room to hear the part of you that has been speaking quietly beneath the noise. Here is a practical test. The next time you feel pulled toward something familiar but draining, pause before saying yes. Ask, will this leave me more connected to myself or less? You do not have to make every decision perfectly. You only need to start noticing the difference. The sixth sign is that grief is changing shape. In the hardest part of a season, grief can feel like a locked room. You wake with it. You carry it through errands. You cannot imagine a day when it will not be the first fact of your life. Then one day, without betraying what you lost, the grief becomes less like a prison and more like a place you can visit. You remember without being pulled under. You can speak about the past and still feel the present around you. That does not mean you are over it. It means the loss is finding a place inside a larger life. This is close to what Jung meant by integration. The goal is not to delete the dark chapter. The goal is to let it become one part of your story instead of the narrator of every page. If you have been waiting to feel completely untouched by what happened, release that demand. A better sign is simpler. Can you carry the memory and still make room for love, interest, laughter, or peace? If the answer is sometimes, you may be farther along than you think. Now for the final sign. You are beginning to feel curiosity again. Not forced optimism. Curiosity. You wonder what a different routine might feel like. You notice a class, a book, a town, a hobby, or a person. You catch yourself imagining a future without immediately correcting the thought. The world is not fully bright yet, but it is no longer completely closed. Curiosity is powerful because it does not demand that you pretend. It simply asks you to take one small step toward aliveness. That may be the quiet exit from your hardest season. Not escaping the past, but becoming interested in your own life again. Jung's work points us toward a difficult but hopeful truth. Wholeness is not a return to who you were before pain. It is the gradual creation of someone who can include what happened without being defined by it. You may never receive a clean explanation for every hard year. You may not see why the road bent, but you can recognize the evidence that something inside is rebuilding. Your standards are clearer, your attention is more precious, your need for approval is weaker, and your future is beginning to hold space. If you are in this quiet transition, do not demand a fanfare from yourself. Let the exit be ordinary. Make breakfast. Take the walk. Return the call you actually want to return. Rest without calling it laziness. Keep one small promise to yourself. Those actions are not too small for a new life. They are how a new life becomes believable. And when the old fear asks, "What if I am still stuck?" answer with something more accurate. I am not where I was, and I am learning how to move with what is true now. If this video gave language to a season you have been carrying quietly, write one word in the comments: forward. For more honest conversations about later life, inner change, and becoming whole, subscribe to Second Half Psyche. Your hardest season may not be ending loudly. It may be ending in the moment you stop trying to go back.